Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and today I am wrapping up the Snowathon. The Snowathon ran from the 1st to the 15th of December and was hosted by Pages and Ink, Reading with a Boz, Books and Other Nerd Things, and the Bookish Coffee blog, all of whom will be linked below. It was designed to be relaxed and to be an enjoyable way to get into the winter and Christmas season. Now, I had a plan to do all of the prompts and film little bits for each prompt to go in extra, which you will be seeing some of, but I only got it done for one of the set of prompts because there are two. One is about it being winter and one is about getting ready for Christmas, and so I'm going to be doing the second set of prompts after the official readathon ends, and I will be doing it for the next 2 weeks in the lead up to Christmas. So there will be another video similar to this but a little different in a couple of weeks. So the first prompt was It's Snowing. Read a book with snow or wintry themes on the cover. And for that I picked The Golden Compass. It was in a recent book haul of mine and it has a polar bear on the cover, which is pretty wintry. I've only gotten halfway through it, but I'm enjoying it very much, and we have definitely got into the wintry bits, because a big part of the story is about going north because there are some bad guys kidnapping children and taking them off to fairly close to the North Pole. The Northern Lights are particularly magical in this world because it is a fantasy, and polar bears wear armor and go around fighting and can talk and are generally awesome. This little mouse is the companion of the main character, whose name is Lyra, and every person in this world has one. They are called daemons. It's spelled with that A-E together thing. And they are basically a piece of the person's soul that's like separated off into a separate thing. And when they die, their demons die, and vice versa. And there's just a lot of magic going on, and the author does not fully explain it all at once. You kind of get it fed to you by bits and pieces that make sense for how the main character is learning about what's going on in the world, and I really enjoy that. It makes it feel really immersive. I'll tell you more about it when I finish it, but I really like it. I really like the characters. I really like the magic system and all of that. The next prompt is Bundle Up Before Going Outside. Read a book that will keep you warm, and for that I picked Surviving and Thriving with an Invisible Chronic Illness, because reading this has kind of helped me feel a little bit less alone, and it's given me a few ideas dealing for what it says on the cover, Surviving and Thriving. It's not quite as informative as I was hoping. It's a lot of very obvious stuff, and some of it is just life advice that isn't actually specifically more attuned to people with chronic illnesses. But there was a big section at the beginning about accepting that you have a chronic illness and how to interact with other people when you're still in that phase where you haven't really accepted it yet. Because I'm kind of in that phase, because I only found out that I have fibromyalgia, etc. about 9 months ago, and the whole it never going away thing is still kind of something I'm processing, so I have enjoyed that. I'm only halfway through it, so there may be more pertinent details later on, but for now I'm a little underwhelmed. The next prompt was Build a Snowman with your friends, and for that you're supposed to participate in a buddy read, but I don't have any buddies to read with. Although you could consider that The Golden Compass is a bit of a buddy read because a bunch of other booktubers are reading it now for their own buddy read, and you can just kind of pretend that I'm like tacking on to theirs, because I didn't actually talk to them before I found out they were reading it. They just happened to be reading it during the second week of December for some reason. The fourth prompt is to have a snowball fight. Read a book with a hate to love trope. About 5 days into this readathon, I started mood reading because I was really stuck on a book that I'm going to talk about next. I started rereading some old romances, so one of these that I read was that one, A Court of Mist and Fury, and that one is pretty much the hate to love trope. It's a retelling of the Persephone and Hades myth, very loosely. I think the first scene with the main lady and her love interest involves her throwing a shoe at his head. The fifth prompt is Ghost Letting. And this is to read a book with an adventure or quest. And for this, I picked Aru Shah and The End of Time. And the reason I did this is because it was one of the many books that I had checked out from the library at the time. I got a bunch of recs for own voices, people from India basically, maybe South Asia, Southern Asia in general, but it was there was a lot of focus on Indian people, and I will link that below. And this is the one that got me into a reading slump because of very personal reasons. I think it's actually a pretty good book, and I think it'll really go good places. I was kind of surprised to find out that this is this author's third book because the prose makes me think it's more like a debut. The prose is about on level with my writing, which is not a compliment. I mean, it makes me feel better that maybe my prose is good enough to be published, but most books have better prose than what I can write at the moment. So it's kind of surprising that this is not a debut, but she will probably continue to improve as she goes forward. Third book is still pretty early on in most authors' careers. But it has a gorgeous cover, doesn't it? And everything going on in this cover is like actual stuff from the book that actually happens, and you get to see these creatures, and the little golden ball she's holding is even a thing. So I really appreciate the cover artist and the publishers who picked who would do the cover and how they would do it. I appreciate that, and I really appreciate the whole Rick Riordan Presents thing that he's doing. So that's great. I also really enjoyed learning more about Indian, particularly Hindu mythology. That's the word. It's really interesting and different, and that part was great. And it's not really my style and my usual preference, but it was really interesting how the author really integrated that mythology with a modern take, because this is kind of urban fantasy. It's very much set in the real world, and what goes on in the magic world with all this mythology heavily interacts with the real world and modern stuff, which is a thing that a lot of middle grade fantasy doesn't do. It's like fully magical and doesn't attach to the real world, at least the stuff that I read, which is also partially why I didn't enjoy it as much. That's not the kind that I like. But it is good to read something different, and that is not what put me off the book totally. It was just one little tiny factor that kind of heaped on all the others. So the biggest reason I didn't enjoy this book was that I really didn't like the main character. She was extremely irritating. Specifically, she complains a lot, and she complains a lot about problems that she has caused herself. Her biggest flaw that the author deigned to give her, because you know all your characters have to have flaws, is that she lies a lot. One could say compulsively. And for me personally, that's a big deal because I've been close to people who are compulsive liars, / who just lie a lot. Even though they get caught doing it, they still do it, which Aru does. She gets caught lying. She's not very good at it, but she continues to do it anyway for some reason. And so because that's been a personal thing in my life, I find characters who unrepentantly lie. And one big issue in the book is that she never actually says she's sorry for lying or says that it was bad at all. She just says, yeah, I used to do that. Now I think I'm going to change my ways, but I'm not going to admit that what I did was wrong. It bugged me so much. And the second thing that was also kind of specific to my experience and my taste is that this character is more like a movie or TV show main character than a book main character, compared with her counterpart, her sidekick, who is named Minnie. Minnie is a geek nerd character. She has severe allergies going off all the time. She quotes off random facts. So do I. She is a germaphobe. Also me. She is scared of a lot of things and is physically weak. Whereas the main character is more of a regular person. She watches movies and TV shows. She doesn't really read that much. She doesn't care about facts. She doesn't retain them. She's not a germaphobe, and she's pretty brave. More standard for, you know, in a lot of movies and TV shows, nerdy characters like Minnie get relegated to the sidekick role, whereas in a lot of books they're kind of considered more important, and like the jocks and the strong people tend to be more put in the sidekick area or in the co-partner area, whereas smart characters who read books a lot, you know, who are like authors and who are like people who read books, get to be the star of the show. Okay? I will admit, I am extremely biased in this area. Just being a sidekick isn't a big deal. The biggest deal is how Aru treats Minnie, because she really looks down on her for being smart and caring about facts and being a germaphobe, and she's always complaining about how her nose is dripping and about how annoying she is because she's so smart. One of the things that Aru complains about a lot about her backstory is that she doesn't have any friends at the school she goes to, because everybody at her school is rich and white mainly, and Aru is Indian American. So Aru is comparatively poor and she is Indian American, and she thinks that's why she doesn't have any friends, and it's definitely not because she's a compulsive liar and is mean to nerds. Because, you know, the people who are willing to be friends with outcasts tend to be other outcasts, like nerds. It really bugs me when Aru complains about not having friends and blames it on these other factors, and it's definitely not her fault for being a jerk. For personal reasons, I did not like this book. If you like Hindu mythology or like to try something new and experience some Hindu mythology in a very interesting way, in a very modern way, and have some cute side characters and interesting concepts and very much sort of disjointed adventure, kind of like the Fairyland stories and Voyage of the Dawn Treader, where you go from mini problem to mini problem on this long quest. I would recommend you check it out, but if you have a problem with lying and people being mean to nerds, this might not be for you. The next prompt is get warm by the fireplace. Read a book by some candlelight, and for this one I read The Golden Compass by some candlelight. 2 candles because 1 candle is very little light. By the way, I'm sorry if I hope this candle isn't stressing you out over here being near this garland. I am being very careful and very aware of it. Also, it's not as close to my books as it looks. It's like a good 5 inches away from those books. It's not gonna hurt them. And the next prompt is have some hot cocoa. Read a book that features love. And for that, I read some more books from the Kamisama Kiss series. It goes through 25. This is number 23. These 2 are in love, but there is also a lot of platonic love in this series and a lot of found family, and it does that thing that a lot of manga and animes do where they look at a deep topic about friendship or love or missing people or letting the people you love be free and such from a comedic angle and also from a deep angle, and they come at it in a really interesting way, and it makes you think about it differently and makes me really emotional, and I really love them for that. So that's what I read for the Snowathon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!